Greetings everybody, coming to you from my 2025 Nissan Versa S Manual. So this video is not intended for the masses. This is a very geek video with a lot of very nuanced stuff that most people are not going to be interested in. Just saying that up front. So for those of you who don't know or might happen to randomly care, I purchased this Versa to store as a time capsule. So one of the things that I want to do is get all of the ethanol fuel out and replace it with non-ethanol fuel. So my first thought was, well, I can just go ahead and siphon it out and replace it. Well, no, that didn't work. The reason is I got under the car and kind of looked around. The fuel filler neck kind of curves around. It makes several curves, and then it goes parallel to the ground at right into the top of the tank, pretty much the top of the tank. So when you stick the hose down in there, it pretty much goes straight across the top of the tank and runs into to the side of the tank. So there's no way to get to the fuel at the bottom of the tank. So I mean, I guess there is a way. There's like a little let me see if I can just show you. So right there is the fuel filler neck. It goes right there where those hose clamps are. So that black thing is the tank, and I think that's pretty much at the top of the tank. So there's just no way to do that. What I decided to do is just run the car. Now, for those of you who are following this series, you'll notice the car now has 7 miles on it, whereas when I first got it, it had 6. I couldn't resist. I drove it around the block. There's a block where I'm at. It's approximately 0.375 miles. So every 3 loops is 1.1 miles. You know, so, and I've been doing a lot of thinking about what I want to do with the miles on this car. I really do like the idea of keeping it single digit for as long as possible. But that may not be quite as important to me as I thought it may be, because I actually really enjoyed driving this one and doing a little bit of sort of engine braking in, much to the chagrin of a lot of people who follow what the owner's manual tells you. I basically jammed it into second gear, planted the pedal to the floor, got it up to red line, and then backed off. There's a school of thought that method forces the rings into the cylinder bores and makes them seat properly and quickly. And then when you let off the gas, it creates vacuum, so it seals on both sides. Now, I did that exact same method with my other Versa from day one, and let me rev it up a little bit. From day one, and it has 0 oil consumption and runs great. So more geeky stuff. that I noticed about this one compared to my other one. So side note, I've had 5 Versas, and every single one of them I've had, the same body style has had some different quirks. I've talked about some of them in some of my other videos, things that some do that others don't, and this one is no exception. So as I'm sitting here at about 2,000 RPMs, let's see, let me find it here. It doesn't do it every time. Anyway, sometimes, not every time, right around 2,000 give or take, there's like a harmonic right there. Let me see if I can show that in the phone. I got the phone rested up against the steering wheel. Now it's not doing it. Yeah, it was doing it there a little bit. So there's kind of a harmonic imbalance where you can feel a vibration in the steering wheel. So I wanted to compare that to my other Versa, and I've got just under 12,000 miles on my other Versa, and I had never noticed that. But then again, sometimes I do warm it up when it's cold outside, but I usually hold it more closer to 3,000 RPMs. This one I was kind of varying a little bit. So my other Versa does the same thing. So for those of you who geek out on really weird stuff and you have a 5-speed Versa, once it's up to operating temperature, and I think it's with or without the AC compressor on, see if you have a harmonic vibration around 2,000 RPMs. Just out of gear, foot off the clutch. Yeah, there, I can feel it. It stopped just as I touched the phone to the thing. Anyway, so the other thing I noticed in this one, hear that whine? Let me see if I can. Here we go. So anyway, the AC compressor in this one whines. I don't think it's a problem, it just whines compared to the one in my other one. Now, I don't know if AC compressors need breaking in or whatever. I have the AC on to basically require the engine to make a little more power, so it uses more fuel, and I accomplish my goal of running the fuel out sooner. Near as I can figure, it's probably going to take me another 2 hours of running this car like this to run it out of fuel. I'll have it up on level ground where it will sit, and I will probably actually go ahead and run it all the way out. That way, when I replace the fuel and start the car again, everything all the way up to the front will be the non-ethanol fuel. Then that way I won't have to worry so much about it, and I'll probably only put like half a gallon in, and then just maybe periodically drive it around the block or whatever. But based on estimates and revving it up like this and whatever, I think I'm probably going through maybe a gallon an hour, and I think it has maybe a little more than 2 gallons in it. Today's goal was to get it either to 24 range, or it's at 28 now. I like to do at least 10 at a time, or where it gets down to 2 bars instead of 3, right there. That would be a significant change. It's been on 3 bars forever. When I first got it, it was on 4. Oh, we got harmonic vibration all the way through that rev range. I think that's just a characteristic of the car, since my other one does the same thing. So, and I'm probably worrying about this more than I should. You know, you think about the new cars that sit on lots these days, unsold for 2 or 3 years with the ethanol fuel in them. And people buy them and they drive them and they're fine. But I tend to be a little more proactive, obsessive, OCD, whatever, with the stuff I do with my cars. And it has to be, things have to be done a certain way. Oh, for some reason, my back seat cover came off. I'm not exactly sure how that happened. I wasn't back there. What the heck was I doing? No idea. I'll get that back on there. But when you're waiting for something like this to happen and you're not actually driving, it is a little tedious. But at the same time, it's kind of cool. I think what was I going to say? Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Anyway, I wonder also, another thing I wonder about is running the engine like this, really not under any kind of load. I wonder what that does for the engine break-in, because that'll be something new I've never done before, and yeah, maybe eventually I'll find out. Driving the car, let's get a little bit more air. You know, another thing I just realized, if I turn the headlights on, that'll also create more draw on the alternator and thus use some more fuel. Same with the fan speed. I just now thought of that, so we'll do that. Probably like run the windows and stuff like that. This trip I may actually, or this visit I may actually run the car around the block one more time and do that second gear thing. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to do that or not, but yeah, just wonder what this kind of stuff does for an engine. You know, it makes me think about the Hondas, the Accord, current gen Accord. Some of the first ones of those that rolled off the assembly line had, I think it was a fuel pump issue, and part of the recall repair procedure for that was to actually idle the car like several hours. So these are brand new cars just simply being idled for 7 hours. You know, basically my theory though on new cars, mass-produced cars, I don't really think there is a special break-in procedure. I think you can pretty much do whatever the heck you want from day one and be perfectly fine. I mean, that's always what I've done. It's just pretty much drive it like you stole it from day one. One thing I do want to do is keep the interior of this thing pristine and dust free. I did notice there's like a little nick right there. I don't know if that must have come from the factory like that, unless somebody bumped it. I mean, I don't really care about the little nitpicks or whatever. You know, I did noticed something on my other Versa. There was a paint flaw. I think I showed it in one of my videos, in the door jamb, in the rear door jamb, where the paint wasn't fully applied. Okay, jumping ahead a little bit. I've made some progress. I think I'm gonna call it good for today. The low fuel light came on while there was still some range, and then once it dropped down to 22, it gave me the dash. So obviously the average miles per gallon of 3.0 is not reflective of the 22 that it just showed. If I had to guess, I would say the 2 bars represent 1 gallon in the tank. I have been running it for a few minutes since that popped up, but it hasn't dropped down to 1 bar yet. Now, I've had issues in my other Versa where if you're aimed downhill, if you are pointed downhill and you're on 2 bars, it may not start. It didn't seem to matter if you're going uphill, it's just downhill. So I think that's to do with the shape of the baffles in the fuel tank. I did a video about that. I think I showed the other one not starting until I coasted it down and jiggled the fuel around a little bit. So, but it will still run like on the highway and whatever once the bars go away. So I know once the bars go away, there's still some fuel left. But I think once I get down to those kinds of levels, I'll probably idle it on level ground and not try to drive it in and out of the storage bin. I'll just pull it out just enough to make sure the exhaust doesn't come back in. But anyway, yeah, I doubt there's very many people out there who have listened through this whole video. This is more just for me than the very few of you who are interested in just weird minutia. Anyway, speaking of weird minutia, I did put my seat cover back on as best I could. It doesn't, I can't get it to fit on both sides. Once I get the bottom part hooked around on one side, it comes unhooked on the other. I'm sure if I fussed with it some more, I could get that to happen. But all right, well, that's it for this video. So actually, as I say that, before it looks like it's getting ready to rain, I am going to run this around that 0.35 mile block again and do that second gear thing. Maybe that'll knock the fuel down. This is a really bumpy road here. I noticed the air conditioner cools off more when you're actually moving. I think it has something to do with the AC system remaining cool. So I'm just gonna kind of keep it in first gear until we get out on the road. I'll drop it into second, punch it. Drop it into first. Just kind of creep along here. That's blurry. So it'll still be 7 miles by the time I pull it into the bin. But just showing driving my time capsule car, you know, on a lot of these, can't get that to focus. On a lot of these kind of cars, you don't know exactly what happened to it when it was put into storage and stuff like that. So this one, documenting my engine break-in procedure and fuel burning procedure and stuff like that. All right, I'm gonna pull it in.